Hello from the borderlands on this second Sunday of Advent. Hope your day is going great. I did not make church this morning, unfortunately. I always hate that during the Christmas season. Episcopal services, in my opinion, are not to be missed if you possibly can avoid missing them, and they are absolutely beautiful. And that might sound a little bit confusing that I like these high church, highly structured services of the Episcopal Church when I just got done recording a video on how we're nearly always barefoot at the office. And we usually are. I'm not outside making sure that planes get loaded or something like that. Usually barefoot in the office. And that is kind of a free and easy way of doing things, and yet I like these highly structured services of the Episcopal Church. I'm not into this happy clappy stuff that a lot of evangelicals are, but I heard an interesting message at the end of the service of lessons and carols from the Episcopal Cathedral. And this particular cathedral happens to be located back in Birmingham, Alabama. I knew that I could get the webcast at 8 o'clock Mountain, which is a little early, so I got to listen to that after breakfast, and heard a very interesting sermon from the dean of the cathedral, Canon, I believe you address deans as Canon, Andrew Pearson. And he was talking about how we place so much stress on the Christmas season and have such high expectations, only to have things become a little bit of a letdown. And I can't help but thinking, why do we do that? Christmas shouldn't be a high stress, difficult time, or a kind of a depressing time that it ends up being for a lot of people. It should be a happy time of year. The song calls it the most wonderful time of year, and in many respects it is. You keep in mind what we are celebrating, the birth of Christ, and keep that purpose in mind, and it helps to keep Christmas where it ought to be. But for a lot of people, Christmas ends up being a very stressful season, and sometimes a disappointing season. And I don't know why we do that, why we subject ourselves to all this stress. Now, there are the issues of associating with or seeing members of one's bio family that can be really stressful. And I apologize if that offends anybody talking about bio family in a negative way, but in my life that's just kind of the way it is. If you come from a really nice family, well, I'm happy for you. I don't necessarily. And so there are people that I'm a lot closer to than bio family. They are not particularly involved in my personal life. But I really believe that it ought to be a happy time of year, a time of celebration, and that's what I aim for every Christmas season. In many respects, people are kinder and more generous this time of year, and I think that we should focus on having Christmas about that spirit of giving, that spirit of generosity as we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, one of the most wonderful events that ever happened in the history of the world. When you consider what we're celebrating, Christmas shouldn't be a high-stress affair. How do I think it should be? I think people should simply savor the season. You don't have to go for this perfect Norman Rockwell version of Christmas. As a matter of fact, in the desert Southwest, you're not going to get the Norman Rockwell variety, although it has been known to snow here. In the fairly recent past, there was actually a snowstorm that affected the borderlands, the El Paso area, and New Mexico, and I think parts of Arizona, and certainly northern Mexico. And they don't see a lot of snow in northern Mexico, but in this case, in the not too distant past, they did, and you actually had interstates frozen over. And we're kind of fortunate that that didn't happen right in the middle of Christmas, because we're not really prepared in the El Paso and Sunland Park and Las Cruces areas for travel during the snow, so it does tend to shut things down a bit. But when it comes to the Christmas season, I say don't aim for absolute perfection. Don't put all that stress on yourself and on other people. When it comes, to bio families, you might actually have to limit your contact with certain people during this time of year. Because, even if you're from a really nice family, you probably are related to people who are problematic. That's kind of hard to escape. But I like to, as much as possible, limit my contact with those people during this time of year. If I know it's going to be a high stress situation and that certain people are going to have problems, then I tend to want to limit my contact with them because it kind of puts a downer on the season. And this should not be a downer, a depressing down season. It should not be a high stress season. Now I recognize that bad things do happen during the Christmas season. It's a paradox that when we celebrate the birth of Christ, all sorts of bad things happen, and those things are kind of hard to deal with. And I want to talk a little bit more about that when I give a Christmas message, because I'm hoping to deliver a Christmas message that I hope will inject a lot of positivity into your holiday celebrations, because it really should be a happy time of year. So how do you celebrate the Christmas season? Well, obviously there are the religious aspects, and when we understand, well, that's actually what it's all about, the birth of Christ. That's what Christmas is really all about. And when you consider what we're celebrating, it really should be a happy time of year, because we look at it that Jesus coming into the world so that he could die for sinners, and that opens paradise to people. And so in that respect, it is a very happy season. One of my favorite songs of the season is one called Start at the Manger, and it sings about start at the manger and go to the cross and the loss that he suffered. But what a tremendous opportunity that opens up for those of us who believe. So during this Christmas season, do the best you can when it comes to giving. We can't be perfect in the things that we do for other people, so you just do the best you can, and you kind of lower your expectations a little bit as far as the gift giving aspects, but do focus on giving, and that'll make you feel a lot better. Another thing is spend time with the people that you want to spend time with. Catch up with the people who really are close to you, and I don't just mean family. As a matter of fact, sometimes you can exclude family from the people that you're really closest to. But spend time with your best friends. Do things that you enjoy to the best of your ability. And don't try to have an absolutely perfect Norman Rockwell Christmas. Just try to enjoy the season and have a nice time and recognize what it means and celebrate, the birth of Christ. And it can be a time for fellowship, for generosity, for kindness, and that's where we should put our focus. I enjoy this time of year as much as I possibly can. I like seeing people that I care about, that I love spending time with them. I love giving when I can, and I try to do the best that I can with regard to the giving. And then there's all this wonderful food. There are great social gatherings, and it can be a really joyful time if you don't put too much pressure on it. As I keep trying to emphasize, the Christmas season should be a happy and a low stress time of year. So don't feel so caught up in obligations that you're just running to and fro all over the place, and it turns into a stressful situation. Now, I know some people can't help but experience a lot of stress during the holidays. There are people who have had negative things, bad things happen in their life during this season of the year, and for them that kind of mars the season. I feel like that we should try to leave those aspects behind and move ahead a little bit and enjoy the season for what it is. So during the Christmas season, what it is for me, there's a lot of, to the extent that I'm able, there's a lot of church going. These beautiful services in the Episcopal Church. Love the Episcopal Church, and there's some other denominations that have great services this time of year. Also, the Methodist churches, the Presbyterian churches, some of the others that have the liturgy and the services of lessons and carols and all that. As for the more happy-clappy evangelicals, well, I guess that's fine for them. It doesn't do anything for me. I tend to see that as just, kind of a waste. And so I like the more formal, structured worship services during this time of the year. And, I don't necessarily wear suits to the services. I might do that every once in a while. But yeah, in spite of the fact that I'm kind of the barefoot executive, we run around barefoot at work all day and have kind of a relaxed collegial environment. When it comes to worship services and celebrating the birth of Christ and then celebrating the resurrection and then the Holy Eucharist every week, in that regard, I'm much more of a formal, structured person. I think that services should be majestic and reverent and beautiful. And that's my take on how services should be this time of year. But focus on giving, focus on what you can do for the people that you love, the people that you care about. Don't expect your efforts to be perfect because they won't be. Also, don't expect people's efforts towards you to be perfect because they won't be either. There will be problems, and hopefully you don't burn the turkey on Christmas morning if that's your version of the feast. But just enjoy the good people in your life. I know that Christmas is a high-stress time for retail people, and if you work in the retail business, I'm truly sorry for you. It's more of a challenge to celebrate this time of year if you're in any kind of retail. Believe me, I know. I spent 5.5 years in the retail business, and I didn't work every single Black Friday because I was in shipping and receiving part of the time, but I did work some of it. So, another thing, too. Don't overload your calendar, your social calendar, your celebration calendar. Don't overload it to the point that you can't accomplish all of those things. Just kind of keep it, nice and manageable. Keep your Christmas season manageable. That will contribute to low stress. As far as the celebrations that I actually attend during the Christmas season, I tend to focus on the church services because that is, after all, what it's all about. But then you can also have some holiday parties. We're going to have a great, right before everything kind of shuts down for a day or two, right around Christmas, we're going to have a great holiday feast. It's the four of us with significant others, and we're going to have just a great time spending time with each other, enjoying each other's company, and we're going to hand out bonuses. Dan and I are, and Teresa and Aaron don't know how good that's going to be yet, so it's going to be a tremendous surprise for them. But I enjoy those kind of things. We get to hand out $1,000 bonus checks and they're not expecting it. That's just a tremendous experience. It's great fun to see the surprise that you get from people. But even if you can't give out $1,000 bonuses, you can still be generous with your time. You can still be generous in spending time with the people that you care about. So don't overload your social calendar. Don't make the Christmas season so busy that it turns into a burden. This should be a happy, and there's a certain frenzy to it when it comes to getting shopping done and all that, but it should be a relaxed, easygoing, happy time of year. You focus on making it that, and you are closer to that perfect Christmas. You're probably not going to experience a perfect Christmas, but you can experience a wonderful Christmas. And keep in mind that it's about the celebration of the Lord's birth, and it's also about sharing that celebration with the people that you care about. And so you focus on that sharing. If you got special children in your life, or special people who used to be children in your life, like particularly my godson Christian and goddaughter Mariah and her little sweet girl Anna Faye, spend as much time with them as possible. Do fun things, and just be generous and kind, and don't have super expectations. Just expect a nice time of year, a memorable time of year. I'm going out to tour with some friends of mine this fantastic display that we have on Tuesday night, and that'll be a nice peaceful time where we just go enjoy the sights and sounds, and then we go have some coffee afterwards, and we're going to have this wonderful celebration at work. And I'm going to be in church as much as possible, and just keep it a low stress and as much as possible problem free. Don't try to accomplish more than you can accomplish. Don't try to do more than you can do, but just live the season in the spirit of generosity and happiness and celebration. Don't make it a stressful time of year. You don't have to do that. And if there are problematic people in your life, you actually might want to be nice to them as much as you can, but you might have to limit your contact a little bit. It is, as the song says, in many respects, the most wonderful time of year. So focus on the good times. Focus on the people. Don't overload your social calendar. Don't try to meet expectations that you can't meet. Don't expect other people to meet expectations that they can't meet. It's all about, that aspect is about showing that we care, showing that people are important in our lives, and there are many ways that you can do that. So I hope that your Christmas won't be filled with stress. And I hope it's not going to be a disappointment to you because you put too much stress on yourself and other people. Just relax, be happy, celebrate, have good times, celebrate, the good times. Spend time with the people who are important to you. And those, I think, are some keys to having a wonderful, low-stress Christmas. And I wish that for each and every one of you. I hope that I've said something that might be helpful and that you will just have a great Christmas this year. Merry Christmas from the Borderlands. Talk to you soon.